How about this? Over 3/4 of women don't know that bloating is a key symptom of ovarian cancer, according to a new survey. The charity Target Ovarian Cancer surveyed 1,000 women, asking them about signs of having the cancer. More than 90% didn't know that feeling full a lot or needing to urinate urgently were signs. And Rachel Downing is head of policy and campaigns at Target Ovarian Cancer, the charity. Katie Stevenson has also been good enough to join us. She was diagnosed with stage 1 ovarian cancer in 2021. I'll start with you, Rachel, if I may. So if they're not looking for these symptoms, they're not aware of these symptoms, what symptoms are they aware of?
Thank you very much. So we did find an increase from when we last ran this survey of awareness of the symptom of tummy pain. So that was 1/3 of women knew that, but that's still not terribly high. So what we found today, I think, is a real crisis of awareness in ovarian cancer, that those 4 key symptoms, bloating, tummy pain, feeling full and needing to wee more often, more urgently, just aren't known by women across the UK.
Okay, as with all cancers, there's often wolves in sheep clothing here, aren't there? Because bloating and urgent need to urinate, from my slender understanding of the female physiology, are common issues.
Yes, they are, and that's one of the challenges of ovarian cancer symptoms, is they are symptoms that happen to everyone at some point, potentially over the course of their life. But the key thing with these symptoms is they will be new for you, so you haven't had them before, and you'll be experiencing them regularly.
Katie Stevenson, tell us your story, if you don't mind. This is all very recent for you, isn't it? Last year it all happened.
Yes, thank you for asking me on your programme. Yes, so about 6 months into 2020, I started experiencing needing to get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet a lot. I also had bloating, and I also started to feel full very quickly when I was eating. So I went to my GP. I explained my symptoms. I knew nothing about ovarian cancer. I was told that it was probably perimenopausal, IBS. I had blood tests, and they told me I was fighting an underlying infection. They didn't know what it was, and I was a bit anemic, so I was put on iron tablets. I then went away. 6 months later, so now it's December 2020, I went in and with appendicitis. I went into rising COVID situation again. I went into hospital, had some scans, and they found, as well as an appendicitis, that I had suspected cell changes in my left ovary and fallopian tube, which a month later, so January 2021, I was diagnosed with stage 1 ovarian cancer, which was only diagnosed because I had the appendicitis.
Okay, it sounds as though you had a good GP on your side here, although they obviously couldn't diagnose ovarian cancer or even necessarily suspect it, but they did refer you somewhere.
Well, no. No. Basically, the GP told me that they didn't refer me to the hospital.
Right,
My
okay.
father, who's a retired GP,
okay,
came over and said, I think you have an appendicitis, go to A&E. I went to A&E,
right,
and then I was admitted because I had a suspected appendicitis. What I have been staggered about is the lack of awareness in the medical profession, that they do not think at early stages that ovarian cancer can be detected. And I've also been told this by 2 oncologists. This is what I find very worrying, which is why I am very part of this promotion that Target Ovarian Cancer are doing, because I think it is very, very important that you do have symptoms at stage 1. And this is Target Ovarian Cancer are promoting this, and I think it's very, very important. I had them at stage 1, and they are there at stage 1.
So, Rachel, from the charity, you surveyed women generally. I mean, it might be worthwhile surveying GPs to see how true it is that they're unaware of having symptoms like bloating at this early stage. So Rachel's just dropped out. We'll get her back. I mean, so what have you gone back down the chain to your GP then, Katie, to explain?
Well, I I think, I mean, sort of looking at it in holistic terms, I think GPs are under incredible pressure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't think that they have enough professional development, continued professional development. And I think that Target Ovarian Cancer is incredibly good at raising money to then give them further training, because GPs can't know everything. They're not the experts.
No.
What they need to be able to do is to identify symptoms and send people for further testing. And the further testing, if women have these symptoms, what they need to do is to present these symptoms and then ask for a CA-125 blood test. And that is what will then determine whether they have potential issues. Because I think the other thing is that I think it's something like 7,000 women in the UK are diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and 11 women a day die of it. So if you do the maths, more women are dying of it than surviving, and the reason for that is because it is diagnosed at stage 3 or 4. If you're lucky enough to have it diagnosed at my stage, at stage 1, you can then deal with it and you can survive and you can recover. And I've been incredibly fortunate all the way down that I've had it detected early. I had an operation, I had 6 doses of chemo, and I'm now fully recovered. So I think if you can detect it early enough, you will survive.
So is your GP aware of what happened? I'm just interested whether it's been fed back.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's part of the education, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. My GP is aware. The surgery I go to, they're fully aware of it. I have discussed it with them at length, as are my oncologists, because the reason I then did lots of research around the early diagnosis and how important it is, and the reason I then did fundraising for Target Ovarian Cancer is because they are the only online charity that that then recognise the fact that the symptoms are detected early. Okay. So that's why it's so important.
So, Rachel, how do you propose getting the message out to GPs? I mean, the survey that you've done of women showing the vast majority aren't aware of bloating as a symptom. It'd be interesting to see what results you got back from GPs.
Yes, and that's something as a charity we're going to be looking to do later in the year. But what's really important, as Kate said, is GPs get educated, both on the symptoms of ovarian cancer and what to do when someone presents with them. So we run education modules for GPs that they can access to really get themselves clued up so they know to take action as soon as someone presents with those symptoms.
I suppose it's I don't know how to put this, but it's not as common as some cancers. So it's one of the reasons that it probably might go under the radar.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's probably quite rare for most GPs to see many cases of ovarian cancer. So it is one of the what we call rarer and less common cancers, but that means that education is even more important if it's not something you're seeing regularly.
So in terms of disseminating that information, though, you would hope, with a huge network of GPs who don't get to work incredibly hard but can't know everything, you would hope that somebody could make a decision they need to know this, write an email, press send all GPs, and then everyone would know. But it never seems that simple. Rachel? No, I think we lost Rachel. Go on, Katie, what's your take on that?
I think I am.
Oh, sorry, Rachel, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I dropped off slightly there. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's really important work to be done at what we call a CCG level across GPs. We are doing some work looking at those areas that are less good at diagnosing ovarian cancer and those that are much better, and working out what those areas are doing better so we can share that learning and make sure the areas that are really on top of this are sharing that knowledge with the areas that aren't.
And Katie, where are you now with this? Do you have a clean bill of health? Do you have to keep going back and getting checked?
Yeah, I had my last chemo in June last year, June the 8th. I then was given the all clear in July after some tests, and I'm now on 3 monthly CA-125 blood tests just to check that everything's fine, and then that will go down to 6 months and yearly. So I'm still being tracked, and I will be for a number of years. But it's all really, really positive, and the care I've received has been fantastic. But I just want to, and in terms of where I'm at with this, is to continue raising awareness. That's very much what I've tasked myself with, and to be as much involved with Target Ovarian Cancer as I can be, because it's really, really important.
But Rachel, it's also a balance, isn't it? Because bloating is common, and you don't want to alarm everybody who's suffering from bloating and, an urgent need to pee, which in itself might, overwhelm or add to the already intense workload of GPs.
Yes, we don't want anyone sitting at home now who's experiencing bloating to think it's definitely ovarian cancer. It is probably nothing serious, but it's important, as I said, if they are new symptoms for you and they're happening regularly, you can go to your GP, and Katie mentioned the CA125 blood test. That's a simple blood test that your GP can give you just to rule out that anything insidious is going on, because with ovarian cancer, the earlier it is caught, the easier it is to treat. So that's just the key message from today. If you're worried, your GP will want to see you.
And what age group are we talking about here? I should have asked.
So it is most common in women who have gone through the menopause, so they tend to be the over 50s, but it can happen at any age.
But I think under the age of 40, it's unusual, I read this morning. Would that be fair
so
to say?
around 1,000 women a year under the age of 40 are diagnosed out of the 7,000 that are diagnosed every year.
Okay, thanks very much to both of you. That was Rachel Downing from Target Ovarian Cancer and Katie Stevenson, who was diagnosed with stage 1 ovarian cancer in 2021, but mercifully and happily is doing very well now.